All righty, everyone. We are live here on YouTube with Rim Chung, Rick, Phil is over here, and Steve. Ready to rock and roll. And I hope everyone is excited because we're going to get a little one-on-one tutorial from the one and only Rim Chung. And if you can believe it, he is going to tie his RS2 that he developed back in Rim. When did you develop the RS2?
I think it's about 74.
And before you start talking about the fly itself, I am absolutely fascinated by this vise that you have here. So can you explain your vise that you've been tying on for the past how many years have you been tied on a pair of forceps?
On this one?
Yes, sir.
Practically for 50 years.
50 years.
Yes.
And so that is and I'm just kind of bewildered here. That's a set of vice or a vise. And
this one has distinctive advantage over the commercialized version of a vice. Practically any commercial vice. And the thing is, as you can see in the Renzetti vice, okay, the arm comes over the under the hands part, and in which case you have to raise your hand above the arm of the vice, okay, which means at the point of your shoulder, your arm, the arm must be raised, which is unnatural position of your arm. And that can create some stress more readily.
Okay.
And this way, the whole your arm comes in a natural position without raising it at the shoulder part.
Right.
It comes in. Your fingertips would come naturally right to the hook.
Okay.
And especially when you are tying tiny flies, it becomes so crucial that your fingertips are touching at the hook part of the deal that you are doing. Okay, so that's really important for you for the ease of tying a small fly, which means the fly could be expected to be a little bit better than because of the ease in doing it.
Right.
Okay, so that's the some of the parts that they easily neglected.
Okay. Well, that is a very, for myself anyway, a very fascinating setup you have here. But before we get started, you're going to tie your famous RS2, correct?
Oh, well, I don't know whether it's a famous or not, but that's what I'm doing.
All right. So we're going to tie that. But before we get started, I want to switch over here. We have Rick Takahashi over here.
Yeah.
So Rick, can you say hello for a second and just kind of introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Rick Takahashi. I'm a friend of Phil Iwanis and a friend of Rim and Steve. And we are sitting here at the table tying flies, and it's just really great to be sitting here amongst some of the great, especially somebody that I've admired for so long. And these guys I've admired for so long, and they're good friends. And I'm just happy to be here sitting next to Rim Chung.
Well, Rim, don't get too far ahead of us now on the time before we get going.
Okay.
And over here we got Phil Iwani, and he is wearing it out over here. And hey, Al Canton, sorry we didn't say hello to you, but we all say hey, Al. So what are you tying up over here, Phil?
Iwani done PMD. It's an extended body mayfly.
All righty, and that might be a fly we tie live on the show one of these nights coming up soon. hopefully. And we've got Steve over here as well. And you're tying a little bit bigger fly, aren't you?
Yeah, tying some crab patterns.
All righty. So you've got the crabs today, right?
I got the crabs today.
That's good to see. Good to hear. All righty. So we'll go back over here to Rim. We're going to watch him tie his RS2. And as we get zoomed in and everything. So what type of hook do you prefer? What are you using right now?
Well, for the past few decades, I have been extensively using the TMCO 101 hooks.
Mm-hmm. So the TMCO 101, and what sizes do you tie it in?
Well, usually anywhere from 18 down to 26.
Mm-hmm. 8 to 26. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And, I have tied and used the size 32 in the past.
Oh, gosh.
So only one day I used the 32.
Well, we went fishing Friday.
Yeah.
And not that you've got a clicker on you, but you by far outfished Katie and I, right?
I don't.
Well, I do know, and you definitely you wore it out. You were sitting there teaching a school on how to catch fish. So thank you very, very much for that. Okay, so TMCO 101 from size 18 to as small as you can see.
I prefer it over 100 because of the straight eye.
Mm-hmm.
And well, off the record.
Off the record, okay.
Yeah,
So we're totally not on the record right now.
Talk about that.
He's still recording.
Oh, okay, that's all right. But I have reasoned it out why some of the hooks had a bent down or up eyes for the fly tying was by mistake.
Okay.
Yeah, my reasoning is that when these fill hooks first came about, all of them were meant for commercial fishing.
Right.
Very first, stage of it.
Mm-hmm.
And those hooks were the what do they call it? The already what's the proper name for it? The tippet was tied onto it behind the eye.
Right.
Right.
The snell.
Yes, the snell, the hooks or whatever they say. Okay. And then, since it was tied behind the eye of the hook, the extended part of the tippet would have to have the straight in line with the hook shank. Okay. If the eye was not bent down, it would be crooked.
Right.
That was the need of bending it down.
Okay.
No other reasons.
That makes sense.
Now the flies, we don't tie behind the eye. So why do we need to have the same thing,
Right.
bent down eyes and so on? So that's why I don't like the idea of carrying that portion of it.
Okay. Well, Al Canton asks, what kind of thread are you using?
Well, I use generally two different kinds. A uni thread, basically most part of it.
Okay. What size uni thread do you use?
Oh, usually 8/0.
8/0. Okay.
But for certain, like size 18s, I may use 6/0.
Okay.
But then again, even smaller sizes than, say, depending on the hook style, of course, but the 22s and 24, 26s, and those, I may sometimes use the weavers, the thread.
And right now you're using a gray thread, but normally what color do you usually use?
Oh, okay. Gray is I would say standard color. The most frequently used color in my version of the flies. Okay, but I tie them, well, practically full range of the colors, not necessarily pink or red, but the black one to the light cahill type of a lighter version of colors and so on.
Right.
So anything in between.
Okay.
And
So you've got dubbing in your hand, but what have you done so far? I'm going to zoom in here so everyone can see. Hope I can get back where I was. We can see the what you're working on. So what did you do before you put the dubbing on? Because I know the tails are something you're very passionate about, how they're tied in.
oh, that was tied in. Each tail fiber was tied on the side of the shank.
Okay, so the tail fibers, and what are the tail fibers?
The microfibers.
Microfibers are, so you got one or two?
One at a time.
One on each side of the
Yes.
shank. Okay.
Right.
And now what is I know this dubbing is very special to you. What kind of dubbing is this?
Oh, this one is what you might call insect green.
And what's the material?
It's a beaver.
Beaver, okay.
Dyed into relatively bright green color.
And what size hook is this that you're tying on now?
22.
This is a 22.
No. I'm sorry. To a size 20.
Size 20, okay. There we go. So you have a microfibet on each side, but not
Yes.
on top, on the sides of the hook shank. You've got beaver dubbing.
Yes. This is a dyed color.
And what kind of feather is that?
This one is the usually I buy hen saddle with the appropriate color of the webs.
Yeah.
The web is the part that I use for the wings.
So you're looking for like a dun color web, or
with a grayish the tint to it.
will you hold this
Yes,
up?
you can have it.
So that's the feather itself that came off of.
Yes.
But you're just using the webby part of it.
Yes.
So let's zoom in back again. And you just spat all over it. So when you're tying the body, are you putting much of a taper in there, or are you
A little bit.
A little bit of a
Just
taper?
a little
Okay.
bit. Yes.
Okay.
It's by the holding the dubbing in such a way to be naturally make the slight the tapering there.
Okay. Now you're cutting the butt ends off to make it nice and smooth. You're tying them in. Nope, we got some. Is this magic sauce or some? So this is a darker dubbing. What is this?
This one is I'm building and tying it off with blackish thorax and head.
Okay, so blackish thorax and head.
Yes, yes. And
Is that beaver dubbing as well?
yes, that's
Yep.
right. I'm going to change the thread now.
Okay, nice. So you're changing the color of the thread as well as the dubbing.
Yes.
Okay. And then when we finish with rim, we'll run over to Rick Takahashi and see what he's spinning up over here. I can tell Rick he is so excited.
Oh, yeah, I'm tying up some patterns that we want to use with veterans. I teach veterans for disabled and able body, fly fishing in warm waters. And we're getting ready for our season. And so I'm tying up some flies that I think will work this season. And I tie a majority of the flies for the program that I'm involved in. And so I want to have some on hand. We're going to go out to the lakes and fish to see where the fish are staging in the lake area, so that when we take our vets out, we can have some success. And what I'm tying is just a really just kind of a nondescript articulated fly pattern. And I just wanted to be able to move some water. So I just want to have something that will create some vibration in the water and move some water. And we did pretty well with the black pattern. So I'm just concentrating on tying some of those to try out this next week.
All righty.
Yes, I'm just having a good time sitting there. It's kind of the antithesis to Rim's fly. My fly's 25 times larger than Rim's fly, and I'm still having trouble seeing with them.
Well, all right. So Rim jumped in and he did a few things while we were watching or while we were listening to Rick talk. So what all did you just do? You dubbed the black beaver dubbing on your black thread because you switched out the thread.
Yes,
And then you put a turn or two behind
the wing.
the wing,
Yes.
and then you put some more in
It-
front.
The reason of doing that is that especially when your fly is on the downstream of where you are standing, and in that case, it can be the at that point of still fishing downstream side, which means your line may be relatively on the taut condition.
Mm-hmm.
And that means fly is going to be very much fighting the current on the downstream of you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At which time the wing part of it otherwise it can come flush with the body.
Right.
Okay. So in order to prevent that, I wanted to give a little bit of a support to hold it in an angled position.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, on the downstream side, the kind of a taut line may create some the cavitation
Mm-hmm.
that you create some vacuum below the fly, and which is a kind of positive giveaway that the piece could possibly have a life.
Right. Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole intention.
So you're going to trim this wing now, right?
Yes, that's
So
right.
how long do you trim it?
Oh, just I don't know how to describe it, but just enough to kind of in a way to balance the what do you call it, the parts
Mhm.
for the fly, and
So you did not trim it long at all. It's just it just goes just past the thorax,
yes, that's
and
right.
you trimmed it vertically, so it kind of has that angular shape
Right,
to it.
right. Yes, that's what I
Okay.
like to create. It probably wouldn't have a much bearing on the efficacy of it,
Right. Right.
but well, it's a little bit better looking that way than otherwise.
So can you show us how you tied the tails in? Because you were telling me earlier that if you fish it and one tail goes under the hook shank and you don't have those two tails, it is not near as effective, correct?
Right, right.
So can you show us how you tied the tails in?
Oh, okay, all right.
So basically start over and tie the tails in.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and that will Be good. And Al, you're correct. We definitely need to tie this one on the show live one night, as opposed to this quick finish Sunday we're doing, and watching the master tie it. So we're going back with that same size 22 Tiemco 101,
Yes.
and the same thread. Now, are these just standard micro fibbets or fibbets?
Yes. Yes. And okay, I'll go back with the gray.
Okay. There we go. So you're starting right behind the hook eye. It would take me an hour to get those two straight. So we, oh, you do, there you go. Okay, you're doing one at a time. There you go. Okay. So you got one on one side. Thought he pulled two off, and
No.
I was like, good grief.
Makes it even better.
I got the other one in. So one on each side. Now, Phil, don't get too excited. You're next.
Okay, at this stage, when the wrapping is finished,
Mm-hmm.
you still have to show a little bit of a split there already. That's the positive indication of, well, they were tied in acceptably good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go underneath and it gets to be split much wider.
So just one wrap underneath.
Yes, one wrap underneath. And then in order to secure it, I do this twice in front of the tail,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will pull them. It's really okay. This part for the technical matters. Okay, it appears to be a pulling, but it's not a pulling. With your left fingers, it's actually pushing with my left hand.
Right.
Well, that's the way you can be more positive about adjusting the length.
Right.
A pulling can be overdoing and then easily.
So what's the final length of the tail that you're going for?
About the length of the body.
Length of the body, not the hook, but just the body itself.
Yes,
So the shank of the hook.
that's right.
Okay.
The shank doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are concerned with the finished product,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah.
So you want the entire body, the abdomen, the thorax, the.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't bring the head cement, but I would do it. Now this one maybe.
So that was just a wrap underneath both the tails?
No, I just redid it only
Oh, you
for the,
redid, okay.
yeah, they redid it only for the last 2 or 3 wraps.
Okay.
Okay. I hadn't done it the far enough to the bend.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where or how it should be.
So you just put one wrap in between the two tails. So you bring your thread over
Right.
and then back over and one wrap.
In order to secure it, I made 2 wraps in front of the
Right.
tails. Yes.
But you're not doing a figure 8 back there. So you're not doing 2 wraps. Just do one wrap.
That was the main reason that I didn't want to do it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because when I was designing the fly, that's way back in the 70s, right?
Mm-hmm.
I figured already the futuristic condition on the aquatic insect life forms or the world of aquatic insect
Mm-hmm.
was uh, going to be smaller and smaller. Simply because I learned something about the environmental condition already. For I had become already an avid hunter, like hunting pheasants and so on. Okay.
Right.
In those days, already in early 70s, though, some of the written articles in the magazines and so on, they were talking about the serious enough concern about the pheasant reproduction part of it. Yeah, because of the chemical that they were spraying in the field, the eggs of the pheasant, the wild pheasants, wouldn't be able to reproduce, lay the eggs, but the eggs would fail to hatch out.
Right.
Because of the chemicals, okay? Well, reading the article like that, I figured, by assumption, okay, well, the natural insect life form in these fishing streams would have to mutate into smaller sizes for survival reasons,
Right.
okay? Then, say for instance, tying size 24, I didn't want to make unnecessary wrap, not even one more. The bare minimum, that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
Okay. In that case, I had to come up with a method, if I could, to minimize the wrapping as much as I could. That's the reason I decided to do it this way instead of X.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
X was a traditional way of splitting the tail. Okay. I already knew about it, but that's why I did it. Okay.
So when after you've dubbed your thread, are you putting a wrap of dubbing underneath the tails, or are you just dubbing the body itself?
After I do this,
So the next step, when you dub your thread,
all right, I wrapped it twice in front, right, and I pulled for the adjustment of the tail. All
Right.
right. Now, with the dubbing material, well, somebody is using the same type as I did.
well, there you go. That would be me. You and I
Oh, really?
are on. I know
Oh,
you're trying to
God.
be on pro
That's-
teams left and right,
that's-
but
that's what I was-
the Sally Hansons,
I was using.
there
Yes.
I've got some to spare if
Okay,
you'd
all
like.
right. So anyway, I would have put a little bit of a head cement, okay, on it, and then undo this, okay, undo this, and then
So you still have your tag in.
and then I did the unwrapped it both, turn, and then I would actually put 3 wraps in front, and then cement it.
Okay.
Yeah. Only then I would use my own the dubbing material for forming the body.
Okay. And is that the beaver, or is that your dub?
Yes, this is a beaver.
Beaver. Okay.
Yes. That's all I use for the body.
Okay.
A beaver only. Now, it's important to form the dubbing material in this fashion, kind of a pointed
Right.
to the point. I hope it's locked well enough.
So you got the anchor point there, and then you twist it after you anchor the dubbing. Then you're twisting it
Yes,
around.
this way.
You go underneath the tails.
As you are wrapping, it becomes tighter.
Right. But you did take one turn underneath the tails to prop them up.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And then just a slight, absolute slight taper on that, not much.
Yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the tag end, nowadays, well, I didn't do it originally,
Mm-hmm.
but since the tag end was there,
Mm-hmm.
I decided to rib it.
Oh, because so you're ripping it with the
Yes,
tag.
in
Okay.
the same direction.
Well, now that's a new one. I
Now,
did not know
this
that.
one would merely fortify the durability of the dubbing.
So this is
or
the
the body.
RS2 2.1.
Oh, well, if you want to call it that.
You were here when you changed this?
Okay.
That's right.
Now,
You can. This is not
one
a
other-
variation. This is the 2.1.
one other thing that I recently made changes, okay, is at this stage now, okay, I would wrap the remaining shank of the hook,
Mm-hmm.
okay, with a thread. So what it does is that when you put the wing material on it,
Mm-hmm.
it would prevent it from slipping on the metal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, well, it doesn't take up too much the space for the fatness of it, you know,
Right.
and so on. So,
So when you pull the webbing off, are you getting half an inch, 3/4? How much webbing are you pulling off?
okay, that type of question. One time, I was asked at the Jefferson County video studio. Okay, I was doing it. Somebody from the audience asked, "How big of a wing do you put on?"
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Well, suppose you were drawing a portrait of a lovely lady. How big of an eyebrow would you put on her face?" So it's all relevant, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how you do it. However you think is, but the one thing that I try to avoid is that too big of a wing.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the current. Fly is likely to have the wing covering the upper part of the
Mhm.
body. Okay, that messes up the overall configuration, the
Mhm.
appearance of it. Okay,
Yeah.
so I wanted to avoid it.
Okay.
Still, the distinction of a wing and the body will still be available for the fish to see.
Right.
Yeah.
So exactly, if in Rim's perfect world, what stage is the RS2?
Okay, all right. Is it supposed to be? Well, I never made a dive into the water and, to look at them and so on. Purely it was my guesswork. Okay. Through that, I figured that this could be newly hatched out, the so-called, properly called subimago stage of the insect life. The I don't know how you are scientifically aware of it, but subimago is the the juvenile stage of the winged insect.
Okay.
And then, as you know, they fly into the bush
Mm-hmm.
and then go through metamorphosis,
Right.
at least once. And then they become what they call imago stage, which is capable of mating and laying eggs.
Okay.
Yeah. So that sub-imago stage is the wing color is generally speaking, I don't know, I have not seen the transparent wing on the sub-imago, but they are almost all I have seen was the opaque color.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's why I like to use a somewhat grayish color instead of a pure white,
Right.
unless I wanted to imitate the what's that the spinofore of a trichos.
Mhm.
When I use a size 24 or 26s and so on, then the black the the spinofores would always have the transparent the color there. So
Now that one's not gonna work. I hate to interrupt you, Rim, but that one's not gonna work because you didn't spit on that one really good. You just kind of spit on it.
well,
Looks
the
pretty though.
actuality of it is that however you want to do it, it's going to be your doing.
That's right. That's right. And we'll watch you. We'll watch you finish this one up one more, and then we'll go over to Phil. All right, and here's where you're getting ready to prop that wing up, and you change your thread.
No, not this
Not
one.
on this one, okay?
No,
Okay.
I made the so-called the bicolor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, bicolor fly earlier. This one was the bicolor fly.
Okay.
Thorax part was different.
Okay.
You know why I have used this one
Why is that?
for decades? The green bicolor is supposed to be. It's not appropriate that the thread I used for the green part. But okay, now some of the larger flies, relatively speaking, the caddis larval stage
Mm-hmm.
generally is in the bicolor, the bright green
Right.
and black thorax.
So the caddises are usually bicolor.
Caddis, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now that's one, and then the other is the kind of enormous hedge or the spinofores
Mhm.
during the spinofore of the trichos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either they are the pitch black
Mhm.
or green bicolor
Mhm.
with the black thorax part of it.
Right.
Okay, so
Females that have green.
I think some people said, I don't know for sure. Okay, some
Okay.
people said green bicolor, so to speak, green and a black thorax would be female.
Mhm.
That's what they were saying. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay, but
So you're going with the same color dubbing on this one,
yes,
and this is
usually it's the single colors.
so usually single color, and this is beaver. What color beaver is this?
It's a gray.
Gray. Okay, just gray
Yes,
beaver.
I think gray
And then you
is
go under that wing to prop it up.
most commonly used color anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and
That and purple.
so purple. I never owned a purple color anyway, so I don't know. I don't know for sure, but the 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 gray color though is still very much useful during the hatch of what they call the olive dun or whatever they call it, the blue-wing olive, right? Yeah, PWO.
Mhm.
Is there? Or,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And so I don't know whether they are actually the blue-wing olives or merely gray, but one way or the other, the gray color was accepted during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's most prevalent, the color of mayflies in the the springtime and maybe even into early summer and so on. So I don't know. That's I'm making a lot of guesswork. And,
All right. Now we got the good old whipper for whip finish Sundays.
Finish Sunday. There you go.
All righty. Now we'll watch it trim it. And then hopefully I can switch places with Rick.
That's all cleaning up.
You're cleaning up. No need to clean up. I'm so there you go. Little bitty wing tied up just like that.
okay.
And maybe we can get Katie to take a good picture of that one later on.
No.
And we'll show everyone. So Al, thanks for the comments. We're gonna switch over here to Phil Awani and let's get this done so we can tie his Awani done.
Okay. Switch up there.
And you just take your time and
do a no mercy mix, but I'll switch to
or do the numbers, whichever one that you're ready to go.
no mercy mix.
We can do the no mercy, whichever one you would like. But as you decide where you're going to tie in the next 4 seconds, tell us a little bit about yourself and the fly that you're going to tie.
I'm Philly Wani, and I'm going to be tying my Wani gun, which is an extended body.
You feel just clip that on your shoulder. There you go. You might need to get your hairdresser, Steve Maldonado, to help you out here.
So I'm going to be tying my Iwani gun. It's an extended body mayfly, and I can tie them anywhere from a size 24 all the way up to a green drape, which is like a 10 or a 12. Same technique, just different materials. So what I use is a 2488 hook, TMC 2488 hook. It's a short shank, so it allows me to extend it beyond the bend of the hook, which when they take the size 16 PMDs, it needs to be the length of a TMC 100.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's any longer than that, of course, then it's not a 16 anymore. It's more like a 14 or 12. And when I'm tying mayflies, I want to make sure they're at least the size of what's hatching, or something a little bit smaller, but never larger. You're not going to get as many strikes it takes if you use a fly that's a little bit larger. So I try to match the hatch is what I'm doing.
Okay, so you're using 2488. And what size are you tying right now?
I'm going to tie 16.
Oh, goodness gracious, a big one.
Monster.
And what color thread are you going to use?
I'm using a yellow or a kitty hill, and I'm using Venus. And this is a 16-aught.
Okay.
So it doesn't build up both of them.
Right. And before you get started, I'm going to come over and switch around, zoom it in a little bit. Rick is being way too clean right now. He's like, I'm going to make sure you've got a perfect spot to sit.
Yes. You just get this out.
So I'll switch around here.
Rick, we have any Greek coupon?
All right. Okay, so we'll set this here and see if I can get over here somewhat proficient. Nope, that's not the way at all. The only thing that's in the way is me right now. And I think
Is it okay if I use my magnifying glass so I can see what I'm doing?
you can do anything you want.
Tell me when.
There we go. Lower this a little bit. Okay. Okay, so we got 2488 size 16 in the vise right now, and you're tying your Awani done. And did you say you're tying a PMD variation? So how long ago did you create this pattern?
This was like I created this about 8 years ago, and then I submitted to the Umpqua to see if they wanted it, and
I turned it in like the 27th of November, and they picked it up like by the 7th of December. So it took them about 10 days.
Okay.
So yeah, the reason they wanted it was because at the time the extended bodies, they were using foam, and they could only do larger flies like green drakes and March browns.
Right.
But I could tie a size 24 with an extended body. So as soon as they saw that, they said that, oh, it fills a niche. It fills a niche that we were trying to accomplish. So that's what really they wanted. Everything else is, parachute is a parachute, but
So why would you tie on the 2488
Uh-huh.
versus just a regular TFGO 101 or a
yeah, let me show you. I have, I can show you. This is so you can see how I size it. So this is a standard 16, which you would tie a dry fly on.
right.
You see the difference in its length? So if somebody says they're taking a size 16 PMD, they're tying it on this hook.
Right.
And then a 2488 is a short shank. You see how
Right.
shorter it is? So I can take that extended body all the way to the bend of the 101 hook.
Mhm.
So that was the whole idea.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this in here and make sure it's on the top of the shank of the hook.
Mm-hmm.
And because this is a larger fly, I'm going to use this tag end to split the tails.
Okay. So if it wasn't larger fly, would you split it with thread, or would you not bother with splitting it?
Yeah, if it's a smaller fly like a 22 or even a 20 or an 18, I would just use one strand.
Okay.
But because this is a little bit larger, I'm going to use two strands, so it really splits it well. So what I'm using is I'm just using standard monofilament. So this is all it is. You get it at Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop. It's just 17-pound test. If it's a smaller fly, I would use a smaller test. And then, so it doesn't roll because the monofilament, as you can see, is round. So is the shank of the hook. So I'm just going to take a pair of hemostats, and it has a grid pattern on it. I'm just going to crush it.
So what weight monofilament do you use for various flies?
I go as small as an 8 if I'm doing a 24, 8-pound test.
Right.
And if it's if it's a green drake size 10 or 12, I would use like maybe 20-pound test. So what I've done, I've crushed down the end of the monofilament so it doesn't roll on me. I don't want this extended body to roll on me.
Right.
So you can see how creates a grid pattern, and so the thread grabs into it so it doesn't roll on me. I always spin my bobbin counterclockwise so I don't have to fight the thread. And then I just put a wrap around it here. The key is to make sure it's on the top of the shank. And
Right.
then I'm bearing down on this. This Venus is very strong.
Okay.
You can see I'm bending the hook, putting it so tight. And I'm just taking advantage of the curve of the monofilament. You can see Mayfly has a curved abdomen, so I wanted to simulate that.
Right.
And then I just tied this off.
Okay.
So it doesn't unravel. And then I just flip the fly. So again, I would just take this, lay it up against it here, and I would cut it accordingly. But
Okay.
I've tied so many of these, I kind of know where it is.
Right. Right.
So I just cut this.
Okay.
Then I'm just going to take some crazy glue, and the reason I use crazy glue because it has a brush applicator,
Right.
and I put this on the monofilament. So I take this tag end and put it on the bottom
Mm-hmm.
of the monofilament.
Yep.
And then I spin my bobbin counterclockwise, and I'm going to just palmer the monofilament, and that gives it the color.
So you gotta be really careful not to have it just slide off.
Yeah, and the crazy glue does kind of gives it some. It just sticks to it better.
Right.
Just make sure it's on the bottom, which it is. All right, and then I'm just going to take some microfibrils.
Mm-hmm.
Just take 2 of them. If it were a tricle, I would do 3, but a mayfly, this PMD only has 2 tails.
Okay.
And I want to marry this.
So you're evening them up to where they're
Yep.
the same length.
Right. And then I'm going to lay it on my side. I'm going to tie this in long
Mm-hmm.
so I can manipulate it a little bit.
Right.
And again, just so you can see, I'm not production tying, so if I don't spin my bobbin, the thread goes like that, and then I'm have to pull on it to make it tight, and then it starts moving on me.
Yeah.
But if I spin it counterclockwise, I don't have to fight the thread.
Right. Mike, sorry about that. I don't think we can change it while we're live, Mike, but we'll work on it later.
And then I just want to make sure it's on the top of the extended body,
Right.
and then I can play with it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a forgiving tail. See, what happened is I didn't spin it enough. You can see what happens. So I have to fight this thread a little bit.
Yeah.
But because it is long, I can just grab this and put it on top of the shank.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just going to spin this more.
Right.
Then I don't have to fight the thread.
Mm-hmm.
You know, much easier it is now.
So you said you go down the sides to 6 pound mono. What are you using on the size 16?
This is 17-pound test.
17 pound test.
And so you can see right now this tail is way too long. It needs to be the length of the body, the entire fly. So I'm just going to grab the tag end and pull it towards the eye of the hook to shorten it. You just have to make sure you don't pull it too far.
Right.
And then I just split the tail and put the thread in between.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll separate the tail and keep it split.
Okay.
And then just go back over it. And you can fool around with the microfibrils to make it a perfect angle.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. And then just tie this off.
Okay. So we've got the hook is in traditionally backwards,
Mhm.
and now you've got the extended body completed, and I'm assuming you're getting ready to just switch it all around, correct?
Right. No, right now I'm going to put some UV resin on it.
Okay.
And the reason I do that because the natural actually has a shiny abdomen,
Mm-hmm.
and most people are using dubbing, so you can't do this. And cut all the tag ends off.
Okay.
Just put some UV resin. This is Solar Res Bone Dry.
Mm-hmm. Mike, unfortunately, I think the orientation was something I should have hit before I started. I've hit some different buttons and it won't let me switch it on the fly right now, but I've definitely tried.
That mice is a little jumpy going down the Regal.
You couldn't pay me to use that. That was for Lily Renzetti. All right, and then I just flip the fly now.
Okay.
So you can see it, the angle there. Can you
Mhm.
see that?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is the easiest way I know of to tie in a parachute. So I just go over the microfibets to secure it better.
Right.
I don't want this to ever roll on me. And then I'll just take this is McFly on right here,
Mm-hmm.
material here.
Yep.
It doesn't flare on me when I tie it in. You know, sometimes if you use certain types of like Antron,
Mm-hmm.
it'll flare on you
Right.
if it's been in your box too long. So I didn't like that. And I don't need all of this. I'll just take like maybe 3/4 of it.
Right.
And then I just lay it on top of the shank of the hook, right in front of the monofilament.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I just spin my bobbin. And I just put 2 loose wraps over it. And then I just take this and make sure it's where I want it. I can move it.
Mm-hmm.
And then so my post doesn't roll, I'm putting a lot of pressure. You can see I'm bending the hook.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, I just hold this up in the air like this.
Yep.
And then I just wrap it. I'm going up the post and I'm keeping my middle finger is keeping it from dropping back to the shank. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm working my way up the post.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just going to drop it back down
Right.
to the shank of the hook. Right. Now I'm gonna move my thread back to the bend of the hook.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just going to dub. I'm going to dub from the bend of the hook to the post. And again, I just stretch out my dubbing so it doesn't clump up on me. And this is a PMD dubbing, extra fine. And just start it, and then you can twist it to get it tight.
Right.
A little bit more.
That is a fancy dubbing holder dispenser job you got there. That is.
Yeah, or it helps you organize. You know, when you're tying at shops and shows, it just makes it easier.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm going to tie in, I'm using saddles. So this is a saddle feather. I just want to make sure it's long enough with the fibers. And then I'm just stripping off some of the fibers. And I'm going to tie this in concave side facing the post. And then I'm moving up the post that's already been stiffened by the process just before that.
Right.
And I just want to make sure that it's cupping upward. And it is. I don't want to get to the very end and all of a sudden it's kind of upside down.
Right.
I mean, some of my friends like to tie it that way, but I don't.
That can be frustrating when it's not going the way you want it
Yes,
to go.
exactly. And you're trying to fix it.
I mean, that is Scott calling.
This stuff.
Because he just called me.
And then I'll take it to the eye of the hook and I'm going to dub back to the post. He's probably saying, Why aren't you tying a no hackle? Anyway.
So from the eye back to the
Post.
post and the.
And then I'll just take a wrap around the post and have my thread on the top of the shank. Behave yourself now. So I'm just working down.
Mm-hmm.
Like 4 wraps is enough. Then I'll take 2 wraps over the top of the tag, and I'm on top of the shank and on top of the extended body, and I'm gonna lift it up and put one underneath. And then I'll just hold this, and I'm gonna just tug on it a little bit, just so the hackle is tight against the post, so it doesn't come apart when the fish takes it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll just make a little V with my scissors and push it against it. That way, I'm not cutting all the fibers off.
Right.
And then I cut this off now so I can work, because I'm gonna whip finish around the post.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take this and just cut it in an angle. I don't think the fish care, but it just makes it look more like the wing.
Right.
And then I'll just tie this off. And on the top of the shank of the hook.
Right. So just a 2 turn whip finish.
Yeah, well, this is 16/0, so I'm gonna do a second wrap.
Okay.
I don't like to use glue because it'll get all over my hackle and everything, so. I guess for you Semper Fi people, you would be using.
It's like a hackle whip. It's strong.
Yeah. Just neaten it up a little bit.
All right.
That's it.
Well, awesome.
Yeah, so I just like to. Usually there's a big TV screen above my head, so I like to make it nice and neat. But yeah, that's it. So you can kind of see how it splits the tail. And so when the fish looks at it from the bottom, they're seeing a shiny abdomen like the natural.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That looks really, really good. Well, thank you so much, Phil, for hanging out with us and showing us the your little bit of your magic. And we'll catch everyone on YouTube next time.
There you go. Well, thank you very much.
All right. See you guys.
Oh, you're on.
I gotta roll. I gotta go. Tammy goes, you better get my chicken pork Costco closes. They close at 6. Fuck. We're gonna stay here and drink.
Yeah,
She just sent me a message. You better get to Costco.